George Clooney really is a lifesaver. Julianna Margulies recently shared how Clooney saved her character from a planned pilot episode death. But if it weren't for her getting pissed during her audition, she'd never have made it onto the series at all. What happened was, I was in LA visiting a boyfriend, Margulies said on Friday's episode of The Kelly Clarkson Show. I had 3 auditions that day, and being that I grew up with a hippie, crazy, wonderful mother who was always late, I'm usually early because I never want to keep anyone waiting. But when she got to the audition, there was probably 50 people in the waiting room, and they were running 2 hours behind, and I was pissed. As Margulies began to storm out, the casting director called my name, and I rolled my eyes like, "Oh, really?" So I went into audition for a recurring character, but I was so pissed off that I did it really rudely, a little New York anger. I knew I'd flunked, and I walked out of the audition, and the casting director said, "Hold on a minute, you're not right for that part." And I was like, "You think?" But they said, "You might be right for this head nurse, Carol Hathaway, but she dies in the pilot. Could you come and read for that?" So I went back in and I read for Hathaway with a lot of attitude. And I got the role. The audience applauded the amazing turn of events, but of course, that's only half the story. Host Kelly Clarkson asked the natural follow-up question. She was going to die? You were supposed to die. 3 decades in retrospect. is unimaginable without Margulies' Carol Hathaway. She was the primary love interest for Clooney's Dr. Doug Ross, and the driving force behind many of most consequential storylines in the medical drama's first 6 seasons. But, Margulies revealed, the character dies in the pilot from a drug overdose. Not in an early draft of the pilot, the actual pilot that aired on September 19th, 1994. But the way the director, Rob Holcomb, shot it, Margulies explained, he did it through George Clooney's eyes because they had been an old flame. They did it through his eyes, so suddenly her death seemed really important to the audience watching for him that she not die. So I guess they do test audiences, and when the character died, the whole audience went, "No," because they love George Clooney so much. Who doesn't? Another confluence of events ran in Margulies' favor when Sherry Stringfield, who was one of the doctors in the operating, when I get brought in on the gurney, she, for some reason, put her clipboard to her mouth when she said, "She's brain dead," so you don't see it. They just looped different lines and saying, "She's going to be okay," or whatever, and they brought me back to life. Margulies departed in 2000 after 6 seasons, and Clooney only stayed on for 5, returning as a surprise guest on the season 6 finale. Doug and Carol parted ways at the end of season 5. Afterwards, Carol discovered she was pregnant with his child. The character largely stays out of any further romantic entanglements on her final season, opting to focus on raising their child. She's as shocked by Doug's presence at her Seattle home at season's end as the rest of the country was. Margulies recently recalled, "My mom saying to me, she was so shocked because everyone knew George was off the show. My mother said she screamed," which I think was a lot of people's reaction. And it would have never happened if Margulies hadn't been so pissed off during her audition, nor if America hadn't loved George Clooney so much.